Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today, we're jumping into some I Don't Work Here Lady. Our first story today comes to us from Lucky the Lurker. Karen mistakes me for a bank employee, proceeds to attempt to rob the bank, and gets arrested. Let's jump right in. Background: about 20 years ago, I worked for a company that made software for banks and credit unions. Two smaller regional banks merged, and we were called in to upgrade all the branches for the same version of software and to point the network to the new consolidated bank. This happens after hours, so as to not interfere with day-to-day operations. The whole process took several hours on site at each bank, so we were sure we would have plenty of time to roll things back if anything went wrong. We started a few hours before the bank closed. This would give us time to fix anything before the bank opened the next day. The process started with a meeting to go over the plan for the branch, so the bank staff, some of who would be helping with the process because my team doesn't have complete access to the bank systems. This is a small bank. There's 4 offices, a conference room, and space for like 5 tellers up front. It turned out it was payday for some large employer or something, but just as I started my meeting with the branch manager, the 2 staff from my company and the 2 bank employees who would be opening the bank the following day, the bank starts to get really busy. The meeting lasts about 30 minutes, and all the while the line and waiting area is filling up, so I rush through the details for the bank manager and release him. Then, the 2 opening staff. I leave the details for my team for last. My team knew the process, they just needed to know what computers to start on first. Anyway, I dismiss the bank staff and they go to help the rush up front, and I continue my meeting with my team and then send them out to get some food since it looks like the bank might not close on time anyway. I head over to the bank manager's office and immediately a woman ducks under the rope line and makes straight for the office and tries to follow me inside. I didn't see her step out of line, so I at first thought maybe she was a bank employee. As soon as I turned around, she said something like, "It's about damn time. I've been waiting for half an hour." This was BS because we started the meeting at 4:30 and it wasn't even 5 yet. I tried to tell her she was mistaken. I don't work at the bank, but she cut me off, not even paying attention to what I was saying. She plopped herself down in one of the chairs and said, "I need to make a withdrawal." I replied, "Sorry, I can't help you with that. You need to wait in line." "No, I've already waited for an hour. I know you can do it. You've done it before." She slaps her ID and bank card on the desk and says, "Just open the damn drawer and give me $2,000. I can't. I couldn't even finish explaining I don't work there. "BS, you've done it before. Give me $2,000. I can't. That's it." At this point, she's raised her voice and is now standing. I assumed she was going to leave, and I went to open the door, but she pushed me back and yelled, "I'm not leaving this office until you give me $2,000. She then picked up a screwdriver out of the toolkit sitting on the desk and starts prying at the desk drawer. I push her back and she swings at me with the screwdriver. I step back, but she scratches my arm, tearing my shirt, and goes back to prying at the drawer. I've had it at this point. I'm thinking she's nuts and I need to do something. I look out of the office and it looks like everyone is busy and think maybe they didn't notice her yelling. It looks like she's not making any progress on the desk. It's too sturdy. I try a calmer approach and try to get her attention. She stops for a moment and looks at me like she forgot I was there. "Are you gonna get me my money or what?" she snapped. "I'm not an employee of the bank." "BS, you were just in the meeting with the other employees." "Yes, but..." "Then get me my money or get out of my way," she interrupted before pushing me again. I finally had it. I looked out the window and it seemed like all the bank employees were calm and quiet. I thought, F if I'm going to stand here and watch her rob the bank. She was a big woman, but I played hockey against bigger, so even if she had a few pounds on me, I was pretty sure I could at least slow her down. I took a step back, brought my shoulder down, then with a step and a short lunge, I shoulder checked her into the brick wall behind her. She smacked her head on the wall, gave a short whoomph as I knocked the wind out of her, and then she collapsed to the floor unconscious. I watched her suspiciously for a moment, thinking that was easier than I thought. Why didn't I do that earlier? Then I thought maybe I hurt her, so I knelt down to check on her. She was breathing. I shouldn't move her. The screwdriver flew across the office, so I just stepped over her and walked out into the bank. About that time, I heard sirens, lots of them. A short while later, some police came into the bank. Having just assaulted a woman, leaving her unconscious, I put my hands up. The police walked over, looked at me, then walked into the office. I turned around and the bank staff were pointing at the office where I just left. Evidently, they'd triggered the silent alarm as soon as she yelled at me to give her money. They moved the other customers to the conference room and were following protocols to comply and not interfere. The end result was she woke up to being handcuffed. She was seen by an EMT briefly before being arrested for armed robbery, kidnapping, and assault. The screwdriver from the toolkit was taken as evidence, and we teased my tech for the next few years. You get your screwdriver back yet? She came in for $2,000 and left with 5 to 10. She spent 4 years in prison. As an assault victim in that state, they notified me when she got out. This'll be one of the easiest bank robberies these cops will ever have. They walk in, the perp is unconscious on the floor, they check that she's still breathing, apply the cuffs, and say, well, that was easy. Now, I do want to remind people that you shouldn't get involved in a situation like this. If somebody's robbing a bank or a store or whatever, regardless of whether you work there or you're just there purchasing something yourself, do not get involved. Comply and give them what they want, and chances are you'll be able to walk out of there later once they're already long gone. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our second story today comes to us from Gallifrey Girl Dusk. Stranger demands I watch her children while she shops. Let's jump right in. When I was 13, I was aimlessly wandering around looking at random stuff at a retail store. That for this store, I will call Bullseye, waiting for my mom to finish picking out some tennis shoes. A lady who looked to be in her late 40s came stomping up to me. She has a horde of 5 kids, looked to be about ages 3 to 10, swarming around her plus a baby in her arms. I have zero clue what she was saying. I don't understand pterodactyl screeching. I started backing away with my hands up, like she had a weapon pointed at me, when she tried to place the baby in my arms. She just started screaming, "Manager! I need a manager!" until some employees walked up to us. She got this smirk of what I can only describe as pure joy on her face and pointed at me. You'd think she was identifying a criminal the way she was acting. This employee almost made me drop my baby. I tried to drop my children off for childcare and she refused to take my children and wouldn't take my baby from me. There isn't a limit for how many children you can drop off posted anywhere, so I don't want to hear it. I will not be discriminated against just because I have so many beautiful children. My jaw was on the floor at this point. I was 13, looked even younger, was in the middle of my emo phase, was in the middle of the music section looking at CDs, and like I said, was in Bullseye. What about any of that would make someone think I was some kind of in-store daycare worker? The employees' faces ranged from utterly confused to trying really hard not to laugh. When they all just stared at her for a few seconds without saying anything, the mom started back up with her bird mating calls again. I could make out bits and pieces. She's going to sue. She had to come find me because I wasn't where I was supposed to be in the childcare area. I looked unprofessional. She doesn't want her kids watched by someone who looks like a devil worshiper anyway, and some more threats involving her husband and church. The manager finally spoke up at this point. He first explained that I don't work here, then informed her that they don't provide any kind of childcare. She flipped out again, accusing them of lying. I actually figured out what she had been doing and explained to the manager. This store had a little mini arcade room near the entrance and the snack counter where you can buy popcorn and soft pretzels, stuff like that in case this isn't normal for Bullseye stores in other areas. She had been dropping her kids off in the little arcade room and expected the nearby employee to watch her kids while she shopped. The employee was only nearby because the room was right by the front door. This room is tiny. It has like 4 games in it. I don't know how all of her kids even fit in there. Apparently, this was her first time coming here since she had had her baby. You'd think she would have been horrified or at least embarrassed once the truth came out, but nope, she just started yelling more and accusing the manager of trying to cover up for me since I had obviously abandoned the kids I was supposed to be watching. She said she was going to call the police and report me and the store for child endangerment, and I was so getting fired. The manager asked her to follow them so that they could take care of the situation, and while she refused at first because she wanted to be there when I was fired, she left with him when he finally lost his temper and yelled, "Ma'am, she does not work here, leave her alone." The other employees took me up to a register and offered me a $100 gift card and a lot of apologies. I tried to turn it down. It wasn't their fault, and I got a great story out of it. She insisted though. From what I gathered from her, the crazy lady had apparently said a lot of horrible things about me while shrieking that I couldn't understand. My guess is that they were worried my parents would sue them or something. They called my mom to the front of the store and explained the situation to her, then gave me my gift card. Luckily for them, rather than threaten a lawsuit, my mom just laughed her butt off the whole time. I really thought she was going to pass out from lack of oxygen. She was laughing so hard at my painful experience, she could barely breathe. She was super bummed that she had missed the whole thing. In the end, as we were walking out of the store, my mom looked at me in all my emo gear and said, "Who in the hell would try to put their newborn in your arms?" A complete stranger whose sleeves literally say "cut my wrist" and "black my eyes." I used to buy blank shirts and Sharpie my favorite song lyrics all over them, laugh out loud. I was so cool. In conclusion, I don't know how the situation with the Mother of the Year ended, but the next time we went to Bullseye, there was a huge new sign saying, "Do not leave children unattended," by the doorway to the arcade room. It was in the exact same spot as the old sign that said the exact same thing. Only difference was that this sign was about 4 times as big. I swear my mom was hoping to run into Mrs. "Hey stranger, take my infant," because she all of a sudden needed to go to Bullseye all the time for a little while. So correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not from the states where this story likely took place, but isn't that child abandonment if you just leave them in the arcade where there's nobody to look them over, especially with really young children? I'm sure we have a lawyer in the viewership somewhere. I'd love to see your comments down below. Our last story today comes to us from Ong Noi. I didn't spend 7 years in medical school to fix your crap. Let's jump right in. Working for a manufacturer of things that were not medical related, I got a voicemail from an MD screaming about some piece of hardware. "Your stupid device doesn't work, and your voicemail box is not configured." This was on my personal voicemail, which is configured. No phone number, no name, no idea where the call originated from. The only thing I was certain of is that we were not in the business of making medical instruments of any kind. A few similar messages landed in my Vmail in the ensuing week, until I finally managed to live answer one of these calls. After calming the caller down, I pieced together what was going on. The medical device in question was a bit of office automation, nothing patient-facing, thank goodness. The caller described having trouble with this device and calling the phone number on the leaflet that came in the shipping carton with said device. That phone number was misprinted, and thousands of these devices were shipped with a bogus tech support number. The number printed on the paper was one of my 500 office phone numbers, coincidentally unused with no actual physical phone and no voicemail box. Those few callers that managed to leave me messages simply pounded 0 until my employer's admin assistants, there were 3 sharing call answering duties, answered. They apparently didn't question why IT support requests were coming in on an outside line, they merely forwarded the call to my number. Until the day I ripped that phone system off the wall. That phone number still had an outgoing message in my melodious dulcet tone. "You've reached not the company you think you called. Please note that we do not make the device for which you are attempting to get support. That company misprinted their documentation and gave you the wrong number. For support on your device, please call Medical Devices Company on the other side of town at numbers." That was a fun call with their IT department. I decided I should speak tech to tech rather than try to explain it all to their marketing or quality staff. A few Tales from Tech Support quality anecdotes were shared while we brainstormed the solution on my end and while she started rattling cages in her own shop. I'm reminded of a friend's parents many years ago who had had the same phone number for about 15 years, but then they started receiving phone calls of people wanting to order pizza. It turns out a new pizza place had opened in town and their number was one off from the number they'd had for 15 years. I can tell you for sure they didn't have that number for 16 years. Check out all 3 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching, hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.